Summer. One night when I was 14 years old, I was at my friend Jared's house. He's my best friend, and I often go there. My parents knew I was there, but Jared's parents didn't. My parents were out for the night, so we could do whatever we wanted. Of course, being kids, we stayed up all night playing Call of Duty in Jared's living room. Jared had a TV and gaming setup in his own bedroom, but his dad had just bought a new TV twice the size of Jared's. So we were excited to move the Xbox out there and just play in the living room. Jared asked me if I wanted to stay overnight. I had already thought that's what I was doing, so I was confused. I asked him if I should be there, and he just shrugged and said no. I sighed and decided to go along with it. A few hours passed, and we started to get tired. So Jared grabbed some blankets and 2 pillows for both of us. We decided to sleep upstairs in his room. We played around for a bit before finally falling asleep. I'm a light sleeper, so it wasn't surprising when I woke up to the sound of music playing outside. I looked out and saw a car parked in the driveway. I thought it might be Jared's mom and dad, but when I woke Jared up, he told me it clearly wasn't and couldn't be one of their cars. The car was still running, but it seemed like there was no one inside. We tiptoed downstairs and found the front door wide open. At that point, my hair stood on end and I knew we were really in trouble. Jared's room was far on the left side of the house and was the last door on the left in the hallway. As we turned to go back to his room to grab our phone so we could call for help, but as we passed the bathroom, someone grabbed Jared and started running away. I swear I've never felt so scared in my life. Instead of grabbing my phone, I turned back and started chasing the guy. We were running through the living room and Jared was struggling to get away from him. The man started to get away from me. Then, as I ran out the front door down the stairs, I saw a creepy green and brown van parked on the side of the road in front of the house. That's when I knew I had to do something fast before something life-changing happened. I grabbed a shovel that luckily was lying on the front yard near the flower bed, apparently left by Jared's dad outside unintentionally. And I managed to grab it in my embrace, far from them, and I hit the man right in the side of the leg with all my might. They both immediately fell to the ground, and I helped Jared to his feet and we ran back inside. The man drove off in his van. The neighbors, seeing some commotion, had already called the police, and they arrived shortly after. As for the other car that was in the driveway, we're still not sure what it was. They told me it was a false alarm and maybe he was cold or something and went out early, or maybe he had nothing to do with it at all, and it was purely coincidence. But I doubt the police will ever find either of the 2 suspects, and going to Jared's house since that day has felt weird, to say the least. My name is John, and I'm 19 years old. All of this happened when I was 16. What happened to my friend and me still haunts me and makes me afraid to talk about it even to this day. I was sleeping over at a friend's house one night. It was a Wednesday and school was canceled early for the next day. I lived in Colorado and we were hit by a pretty crazy snowstorm in the winter. This was one of those nights when the roads were so bad that school called for a snow day. So I was really glad to be staying at my friend Tyler's house. We were just as happy as any 16-year-olds would be about not having school. Luckily, he lived in the same neighborhood as me, so all I had to do was pack my overnight bag and walk over there. It was only about a 5-minute walk, so it wasn't really a big deal. Of course, our parents had to work the next morning, so we would have the house to ourselves all day. The next day, we stayed up all night playing video games and goofing around, talking about the most random things you can imagine. Nothing weird happened that night. It was a normal night. But the next day is when things went sideways. I'd say it was around 11 o'clock in the morning. Tyler was making a sandwich in the kitchen, and I was using the bathroom when suddenly the doorbell rang. We both heard it loud and clear. Although at first we were scared, we weren't too worried about it. We lived in a relatively safe area, and bad things like home invasions almost never happened here. Tyler even made a joke about it possibly being Jehovah's Witnesses or something. I ran out of the bathroom, and Tyler and I walked to the front door. I told him, "If there's anyone out there, please help me. I'm in serious trouble right now." Our neighborhood is very quiet, and it's highly unlikely for someone to knock on our door. It's not something that happens often. Tyler looked out to try and see who it was, and it definitely wasn't Jehovah's Witnesses. It was a guy wearing shorts and a t-shirt. He had short black hair and was probably about 5'10". "What's going on? Who are you?" I asked. Tyler, not hitting my shoulder, was clearly annoyed with me for letting ourselves be known. Looking back, I really wished I didn't say anything because maybe the guy would have left, and all this wouldn't have happened at all. Clearly not the smartest move on my part. The guy outside then started banging on the door and pleading for us to let him in. We knew something was wrong, so obviously we didn't let him in. We ran downstairs and hid in the secret spot in the basement that Tyler showed me. He called his mom to let her know, and his mom said she was on her way home. Luckily, Macy, Tyler's mom, only worked about 5 minutes from home, so she would be there soon. After Tyler hung up the phone, even though we heard footsteps coming up, we knew it couldn't be his mom. "Buddy, what are we going to do?" Tyler said. I told him that we just have to stay calm and wait it out. "Buddy, are you kidding me?" Tyler said. "All right, what do you suggest we do then?" I asked. "Anything but sitting here. We have to run," Tyler said. "I don't know how good of an idea that is, but I'm not going to sit here and hide alone," so I followed. We opened the door so slowly and walked through the basement towards the window we would try. I didn't understand how it works, but I knew it was the best option. In reality, I raised both of my hands so I could give him a boost, and Tyler managed to open the window. He struggled for a minute, but eventually he could get outside. What about me? I thought in my heart. It's true when Tyler told me to grab the wooden coffee table in front of me and use it as a jumping stool to lift me up. Then he would pull me out. I jumped, and Tyler grabbed my arm and pulled with all his might, and somehow I managed to get through the window and out as well. I had to catch my breath because I was panicking so hard that we didn't even realize the man was standing right behind us. He looked at us with the most unsettling stare you could imagine. He was a very strange person. Both of us ran towards the front of the house, and ironically, Tyler's mom was pulling into the driveway just as we reached the end of the driveway. The man followed us but quickly ran the other way when he saw that we were with an adult, Tyler's mom. She called the police, and we found out that the man was a fugitive who had just escaped from jail less than 24 hours before. The police showed us a photo of the man, and Tyler and I both confirmed to the officers that it was the same person. They caught him later that night, and now he's in jail and may be a long-term convicted sex offender and likes to attack young boys, specifically boys our age. He definitely had been stalking us and knew we were alone. It makes me sick how messed up some people are. I and a couple of my buds were having this chill sleepover at my friend's house. You know how it goes, pizza, video games, the works. Everything was cool until I needed to hit up the bathroom. No biggie, right? Wrong. I headed down the hallway, feeling all normal at first, but then, I don't know, something in the air shifted. It got heavier, colder, like a weird kind of pressure. I shrugged it off, thinking maybe the AC was acting up or something. But then, out of nowhere, I saw it. At the end of the hallway, there was this figure just standing there. And when I say figure, I mean it was like a shadow come to life, all dark and twisted. I froze, my heart pounding so loud, I thought my friends would hear it from the living room. I tried calling out to them, thinking maybe it was just one of them messing with me. But no response, just silence. I took a step closer, squinting my eyes to get a better look. And that's when I realized it wasn't any of my friends, it was something else entirely, something, I don't know, otherworldly. I couldn't move, couldn't speak. I was just stuck there, staring at this thing like a deer caught in headlights. And then it started moving, slow, deliberate steps like it was coming straight for me. I don't know what came over me, but I booked it back to the living room faster than I ever thought possible. When I got there, my friends were all like, "Dude, what's up with you? You look like you've seen a ghost." But it wasn't a ghost. It was something worse. Something I couldn't even begin to explain. We tried to laugh it off, pretend like everything was cool, but deep down I knew it wasn't over. Whatever that thing was, it was still out there, lurking in the shadows. We spent the rest of the night trying to shake off the creepy vibes, but it was no use. Every creak of the floorboards, every flicker of the lights, it felt like that thing was still there, watching us. I don't know if it was just my imagination running wild or if there really was something sinister in that house. All I know is I'm never going back there again. And if you ever find yourself at a sleepover in Texas, You better watch your back. You never know what might be lurking in the shadows. Growing up, sleepovers were the biggest weekend event in my small Texas town. I excitedly packed my overnight bag and made my way to my friend Lily's place on a Friday night for a sleepover. In her exquisite 2-story Victorian house, she always made me feel relaxed and at peace. I had no idea that this specific sleepover would become the worst nightmare ever. As we made ourselves at home in Lily's upstairs room, her parents grinned and welcomed me. At first, we enjoyed a typical evening with movies, games, and snacks. However, as midnight approached, a strange cold wave swept through the apartment, sending shivers down my spine. Lily was dozing off next to me when she abruptly woke up and opened her eyes. Her voice quivered as she asked, "Did you hear that?" I listened, but outside all I could hear was the soft rustle of the trees. "What did you hear?" Trying to keep my voice cool, I whispered. "It sounded like whispers," Lily shot back, her gaze darting over the shadowy space. "I think there's something here with us." I was afraid and was scanning the room for any indication of an intruder. It seemed as though the shadows had a life of their own because of the way they twisted and moved. Something ancient and malevolent seemed to occupy the area. I was going to recommend that we wake up Lily's parents when a sudden gust of wind blew out the candles on her bedside table. We were thrown into a strange and terrifying world by the darkness. Finally, I was able to see it. A figure stood at the foot of Lily's bed, its appearance obscured by a thin, vaporous mist. I was filled with a sickening horror as its hate-filled eyes burned. I wanted to cry out and go away, but I felt stuck here. Beside me, Lily sobbed, her eyes wide with fear. "What is that?" she said, barely audible. The figure was approaching us slowly and deliberately, and I had nothing to say. It exuded a somber aura that seemed to defy logic and reason. It came closer and showed its face, contorted with anguish and sorrow. It sent shivers down my spine as it raised a hand towards us and silently pleaded for assistance. That's when I realized this was more than just an interruption or dream. This creature, torn between the realms of life and death, was quite interesting. I plucked all the will to draw Lily toward me, a last desperate attempt to save her. The shadowy figure towered over us, and I felt a wave of fear at its cold touch. The phantom vanished into thin air as swiftly as it had appeared, leaving us by ourselves in the chilly darkness of the chamber. With fear and perplexity in our hearts, Lily and I snuggled close to each other. We were aware that the experience we experienced was unexpected and would have a lasting impact on us. We packed up and left Lily's flat as the first rays of dawn appeared through the window, that terrible night ingrained in our memories forever. We never discussed what had happened that evening, but the enigmatic figure continued to reappear in our nightmares, serving as a constant reminder that not all tragedies can be explained by reason or logic.